All right. Hey, everyone. Another milestone walk through the day. I'm excited to show you all this mad scientist has done over the last month. He obviously has been putting in his work. You can see the tired on his face. He's put in a lot of energy. But we appreciate all his hard work as well as the rest of the engineering team. So let's go ahead and pull up the new instance of the guard of Demia. I will share my screen and pull this up and hit share. All right, so here we are. This is your initial entry into the Demia platform. You can see here we've got the overview. We now have an add project section on the left. So if you have multiple projects, you can come in as a project developer and start adding those multiple projects progressively. We also have a profile section, which kicked me out, and that happens from time to time. So let me just do this. Quick login. Bing, bong, boom. Reload. And now we're back at it. So when we go to the profile section, you see your profile. You also see your identity. And then in this example of a project, we have started our Hedera integration. So you see here my username, got my user ID, I've got my DID document. This is a Demia DID document based on our original work on unified identities at the IOTA Foundation. So we brought in all those IOTA identity capabilities in our native DAG known as the Decentralized Oracle Network. When you look at the identity, you can see here's my DID document, here's my identity mechanism methods, including streams keys for signing and encrypting data, our Hedera DID integrations as well through the JSON web key and our document keys. And when you go to Hedera, you can see here is our Hedera-based DID. So we have this universal resolver mechanism kind of working on the back end through our integrations with Hedera and its Guardian. So you can see we've got our identity, we've got an identity there. They interoperate effectively. I think this is one of the first times I've actually seen an identity interoperating across two different DAGs. So I'm pretty excited to have that. And you can see the account ID that we also link into the Guardian and everything else. So I'm going to come back here, go to our dashboard, and here you see the beautiful work we've done on giving you a presentation of the plant. So this is the older Bioenergia Melina plant, which is an anaerobic biodigester. Project developer was BioE, methodologies anaerobic digestion process. Here we've got the digital twin where you can navigate through and you can actually look at where the data comes from. So we've got our solid waste disposal site, we've got our liquid waste disposal site, and we've got our bulk waste from agricultural waste disposal site. And then when you twist it, we've got be a little finicky on the overlay sometimes. There we go. We've got our flow meter sensors here. And so let's go ahead and click view sensor. This will take us directly to the device. You can see the device, updated UI. We've been making a lot of container updates on the front end side over the last month. It's going to sit here and it's going to load. Might need to go back into data sources. Yep. So let's just look at the overview of all data sources. You can see we've got our 5 predominant data sources for this methodology. We've got our data confidence mapping. So you can see that the automated data sources have a much higher confidence because we have persistence and we have consistency. We have persistence in the connection. We have consistency in the readings. So the data confidence is higher. We're getting a lot more data. It gives us more confidence because it's a more comprehensive understanding of what's happening at that point in the process. The other ones are all manual based. They're APIs pulling from spreadsheets. Anytime an operator makes an update into the spreadsheet locally, we pull that data and we update it here as well. But there is more room for error. It's not as consistent. It might be a daily update. It might be every few days. So let's then come back into the flow meter. You can see all the necessary sensor information that an auditor would need to come through an audit as well. We're going to adjust our dates here. Let's go back to line. And then you can see pretty rapid update on all the different readings we've gotten from this flow meter. When you look at the logs, you can see over 7,000 readings. We can click on them. You can see the annotations. This is where our work with Dell and Intel and everyone else at the Linux Foundation has really culminated in producing that data confidence fabric, or Project Delirium as it's known. So you can look here, you can see an ID for every annotation we have. You can see a signature for every annotation we have. You can see what's been satisfied and what hasn't to generate confidence. And in this one, if we wanted to get it up from 80, we'd have to be able to verify TLS or some kind of encrypted transmission is happening as well. We're checking that, but it hasn't been enabled at site. So that's a docking on the confidence because there is room for manipulation after the data leaves the site, unless it's coming directly into the ledger, which it is also coming directly into the ledger. So we've got automated data sourcing, source that's verifiable, signatures that are verifiable, but there's no encryption using TLS or otherwise on the site. When we look at the actual data point, you've got the decentralized Oracle network. So you can see here we've got the Dawn, we've got all the block information on necessary metadata. And when you look at this, all the data is encrypted. So we're using a public network, but in a permission sense. So that's peer-to-peer data sharing, peer-to-peer access control. You can verify that data is happening. You can verify that it's signed. You can verify the other things that you need to, but it's not present in a way that is completely transparent because we do want to protect the businesses that work on this infrastructure. And then we've got a number of other things that we've been working on the back end, like we've got our plugin structures enabled, we've got visualizers, but we're not going to show that right now. It's not a ton of data going through yet. We're still in these early stages, but as we start to bring different pilots on into the demo, you'll be able to see a lot more data coming through. Database size is increasing, different plugins that we add in from the framework side as well. So let me come back here. After those data sources are processed, the confidence levels are processed, you can come in here and you can see that the analytics that we're doing or that methodology that we've codified is able to give you what you need from a verifiable perspective if you're an auditor coming in looking at a project's data. So you can see here we've got the greenhouse gas emissions reductions. We're capturing that on a day-to-day basis or calculating that on a day-to-day basis or multiple times a day. And then every other parameter that's required to be measured is also put into its own container. So you can see, okay, there's this parameter, there's fossil fuel use, there's electricity generation, anything that we can monitor and measure in alignment with the methodology's designated parameters is detailed and viewable, and you can dig into those as well. And then what we have now is finally our integrations with the Guardian and the Hedera network are going live in the demo instance. So you can come in and you can see we have a link between this project and the Guardian. There's the DID document ID for the Hedera integrations. Here's the identity mechanisms. Let's go back and submit a report for August. Let's do August 1st to August 3rd. We send report. Boom, report has been sent. All the data from those 2 days has been compressed into a batch report and submitted into Hedera to be processed by the Guardian. So at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Dyrell. He's going to show us what that looks like on the Guardian side and what the activities for a VVB on a Guardian side may be or a certifier may be to get it through the auditing process, to get it through the certification process, and then to actually create a tokenized carbon credit in the first place. I'm going to stop my sharing and hand it off to you, Dyrell.
All right. All right. Everything good? Perfect. So on our end here, the next thing that we're going to be able to do now that Matt has sent off a VC, we are going to have a look through our VVB, and we're going to go take a look at the monitoring reports that have been issued. And we can see there's a monitoring report right here. You can see that it was issued at the timestamp that coincides with when we're making this video right now. I can go take a look at it. We can see there's a long list of all of the message IDs that are associated with data messages that were included in the calculations for the report that was issued into the network here. When the VVB takes it, they can go take a look at the document. They can review the information that's present in it. The same processes can be attached to other methodologies as well, as long as it contains the right schemas and includes all of this information. It'll be able to interface with the Demia end. I can go through a verification there. So the VVB has now verified it, and they're passing it off to the standard registry. So in this case, we'll go and sign in on this as the standard registry. And when we go into The policy here, we can see there's the project details and the VVBs and everything that's connected here. And we can go to the Demia data reports and we can see there's the report there. It was verified by the VVB. Take a quick look at it, make sure that it's the same one. It's got all of the message IDs in it, so everything's looking good. So we go ahead and approve that on the standard registry side once they're confident that everything is kosher. It'll do a little bit of processing here. And then we've got a couple of tokens to mint here. There's another report left over from another process. So we'll mint this one. It'll go through a little bit of a loading process while it does that. And then it'll start to issue tokens. Once it starts minting them, and ignore that little message there for now, we can go and we can see that there's been tokens that have been minted. And so when we go take a look at the timestamps, we can see there was a timestamp over here. And we can go take a look at the trust chains. If it will let me click onto the trust chain. It might be sometimes because of the backend system, it likes to connect and hijack my login credentials while I'm still processing it. But once you have the trust chain, you can take a look at the trust chain, which I'll have to do a reload here. We'll have the VP file. And when you go take a look at the VP file, there's all of our lovely messages, all the ones that we were looking for in that earlier issuance. And so then when we go back to a project on our end, we can go and we can take a look at our Guardian. And now we can see we've got a populated VC in the verifiable credentials. And so you can see that it's got the population. This is the same VC information that was present on the verifiable presentation over on the Hedera end. We've pulled that over. We're submitting that into the Dawn as well. So we do submit it through streams messages so that we have additional redundancy stores on all VCs that are seen by the Guardian instance. And then just as a little extra measure, we've got a little extra tool here that'll let you pull up all of the data that's associated with a particular VC. When there's a large amount of it, sometimes it can take a bit to make the calls. There's also just the ability to do quick disconnections. You can reestablish connections with new ones as long as you're using the right credentials. As you can see here, we've got all of the DID document information here. Looks like it's being a little slow, so let's just go ahead and go click on another one. And so you can see the controllers, you can see the all of the DID methods that are associated. Oh. Oh, it would have been lovely if it had loaded. But essentially what happens here when it does finish loading is it brings up a data chart similar to the ones that you see in the meters here. So it'll bring up a chart like this. You can click into it and you can see the annotations. You can go over to the Explorer and see the messages raw on the stream's end. And you can do the same for the messages that contain the copy of the VC that we've stored over on the Dawn on our end. You can see that all of the data is encrypted. You can see that the signature has been verified along the way. And that is the Guardian integration with the Demia ecosystem. We're going to be improving on just general visualizations and connection points, allowing for more interfacing options with things like the indexer as we go along, and providing a couple more utility tools to make it easier for the onboarding process and the registration process for establishing the connection between the two networks.
Yeah, so as y'all can see, this is still early days. It's been an incredibly detailed integration that we've had to go through, but Dyrell and the team have done an excellent job bringing it in and trying to make it as simple as possible through the Demia interface. As he said, the Dawn or the zero knowledge file system, if you want to look at it from that perspective, is storing all the data. So it's acting as a replacement for an IPFS in a lot of instances. It's not integrated completely as a replacement for IPFS throughout the Guardian, but for those that are coming natively into Demia from a project developer perspective, they have that ability to have data in a very secure, regulatory aligned way where data is structured into our network and stored within regional boundaries and things of that nature. So we get a lot of the benefits of that security, of the signing, of everything happening in a very automated fashion. It makes the project developer's job way easier. As we advance this, we'll continue to refine how a verifier or an auditor can come through the Demia interface as well, interact with the digital twins and the data points, and then produce the documentation as well. So you can see a PDF version of a monitoring report, PDF version of a verification and validation report using a little bit of the AI tooling that we're planning to integrate over these next 2 quarters. And it aligns with the existing practices too. So while this is really nice to see from a highly deep technical perspective, a lot of users aren't going to be as deep and technical as they need to use some of these tools effectively. So our goal is to continue to refine them, continue to refine the user interface and the user experience to where it can be as simple and natural as possible. And a lot of the complexity that you're seeing is going to continue to get pushed into the back end, where if you have the depth of knowledge or the technical proficiency, you can dig in and you can still see this layer of depth that's available. But a lot of times the developer might not need that level of depth, or the auditors coming in to check that level of depth and doing their job. But as all this happens, as all this comprehensive data really gets processed in real time, it makes the job easier on the project developer for reporting and getting everything they need. They can really automate as much of that data monitoring and measurement as possible in the collection process, and then it'll help the auditor do everything that they need to do in a much more streamlined fashion. They can come on, they can trust the data, they can see the signatures, they can see the confidence levels, and they can understand at a very granular level that anything that can be done to ensure this data is trustable is being done, and it's being done in the most secure manner effective possible. So thanks for taking the time today to watch our walkthrough. Excited to have accomplished this milestone. So this is milestone 1C and D for us in our process with Hedera as well. And now we're looking forward to onboarding some of the customers that we have and bringing them into the Guardian ecosystem too.